Hello and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in business and in life and simplify them. Now, here's the thing I know about quite a few of our listeners. You're like me. I've got kids at home. My kids at the time of recording are ages 9 and 10. And, we're doing that, but then we're also juggling a business and making all the things happen all at once, which, let's say this, is it a little bit taxing on either your children's sleep or your quality of sleep? And I want to talk about sleep today. My special guest is Gitte Winter, and she's a Danish writer, life coach, energy mentor, and light worker for Room for Reflection. She's on a mission to help parents help their children to thrive through child meditation. She also helps parents become aware of their energy and what they radiate, and teaches parents to always parent themselves first before they parent their children. She's the founder of the Momo Academy, which enables Danish schools to offer mindfulness to their pupils as part of their education. In addition, she helps other light workers bring more products to the market by being a business mentor. So I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast today, Gitte Winter Graugaard. Hello, Gitte, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. And I mean, I think as a parent, I've been doing this for about 10 years now, so I know a lot more than I knew when I was dealing with littles and toddlers at home. I'm starting to realize how gosh darn important sleep really is, not only in their life, but in mine. I mean, it's huge, right?
It is, and it's so much bigger than we tend to think. Even if our children are sleeping pretty good, we still don't know much about sleep. We don't know much about our own sleep, and we don't know what actually happens in our children's brains and bodies when they sleep. And if more parents knew, sleep would be higher up on the agenda.
So then tell us, what are the consequences of not getting enough sleep, or should I say actually not enough quality sleep?
So picture this. Our brain is more busy at night than it is during the day. So already there we get a hint that something big is going on in the brain while we sleep. And you can think of it as a dishwasher. And you want the dishes to be clean when the program is over. So you run specific according to what you put in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And if it's really dirty, then you run a longer program. So if we're really tired, we should sleep longer, right?
Right.
So what happens if you open the dishwasher too soon, before it's over?
Right. It's bad news bears. You've got dirty dishes. You get sprayed in the face, right?
Yes, get something in your face, which you also get from tired children.
Yeah.
You get outbursts.
Yes. Yeah.
So we want to make sure that our children's inner dishwashers are run properly. We also know that sleep is so important for so many reasons, and especially for our children. So one of the things that goes on at night is growing their bodies. Mm-hmm. That happens during the night, growing their muscles, fighting off diseases, building immune system, storing memory, dealing with all the impressions that they've had to deal with throughout the day. They sort of figure everything out during the night and store everything in proper places. Mm-hmm. So if they don't sleep enough, all of those different things are at risk of not being handled properly. So, and what we know today is that children in general sleep 1 hour less than 25 years ago. So we do have a serious sleep problem. And I think a lot of the problems our children are facing has to do with sleep.
Yeah. And also, I guess it bears saying out loud, if you are listening to this episode and you don't have kids, this applies to you as well as an adult. And I mean, when you say it like that, it makes a lot of sense in my mind of course, I wouldn't turn the dishwasher off early. I would want it to complete the cycle. But then when you break it down like that, bodies are growing, muscles are forming, you're processing all the things that happened in your day, either conscious or unconscious. It's a lot. Your brain kind of needs that time to do its thing so that it can hit reset the next morning, right?
Yes. Yes, for so many reasons. Also for us as adults, dealing with clients and, running the whole household. We all know what it feels like when the whole family hasn't slept enough, if there is a disease going on, or if we just we haven't tended to our bedtime routines, or summer is on and the kids are up late and all of that. We all know what happens to, we see it in our children. We also know that we get more cranky when we don't sleep enough.
Yeah, I can tell you the snowball effect that happens in my household. Let me just give you a hot mess morning if that happens. Like, let's say Otto, my son, does not have a good night's rest. He wakes up grumpy. He becomes very agitated and demanding. Oh, I just want to watch YouTube. Oh, I just want to do this. Oh, why don't you do this? Or, oh, my food is not touching this part. Oh, and then that snowballs to be like, make me grumpy. And I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to get myself going. And then it snowballs out to the family, which snowballs out to when they go to school, which snowballs out to when I go to work. And, it goes and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows because of one person kind of, rippling it out. But not to say that it's all his fault either, right? There's a part that I play as the parent too, right?
Yes, and that's what we would love to talk about today, or I would love to talk about today, because we tend to think that our child doesn't want to sleep. We tend to think, oh, I have a child that won't sleep, or something like that is what we hear often. And we don't think so much about, we're not so conscious about what is going on in our household that is making it hard for our child to sleep. So as soon as the children get their attention away from their busy brain that has just dealt with so many impressions throughout the day and has been running around and, extra activities and just being long school days and maybe moving households and all of what is going on. The brain is just really busy when the child gets to bed. And if we bombard the child with, you got to sleep, I told you, you got to get to bed, if we go like that, then we just place more stress into the energy of the child.
Right.
So what I am teaching is to parent ourselves before we parent the child, to make sure that we understand that our energy is affecting the child. And not many parents know this. And when we understand how this is working, then we also understand how we, with our energy and our mood and our feelings and emotions, can actually provide a safe zone for the child to sleep in energy. And I found it so fascinating going down this road of understanding sleep better and better, that as soon as the parent understands how our energy is affecting our child, there are so many things that changes. So this is what we call the conscious parenting. And I just wish more parents knew about it. So thank you for bringing.
So then how do we begin to parent ourselves? Like, what's one or two simple things that I could try today, or a listener could do today, to begin that more healthy and break the cycle, more healthy cycle there?
Yes. The first step is to observe what's going on. So when you observe that, okay, now I was yelling at my child again, or rushing them out the door, or I was cranky at bedtime, or, whatever is going on, just observe your energy. And we tend to observe our children's behavior. So now he did this again, and now she was like that again, and they were like this together, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So bring it home and figure out what is going on inside of you, and are you providing a safe zone for your child to be in, either in the morning or in the afternoon, because I work around bedtime, but as soon as you get that, then you can just use it throughout the day. So many things become easier. So it happens when we become more mindful and understand what we radiate as parents. So when you have a conflict, just pause for a second and figure out, what am I radiating? Did I join the drama? We often do that. So if the children are experiencing drama, we join the drama and we yell even higher, or, we tend to be the boss of the situation. So I'm the adult, I decide.
Right.
So what is actually going on in your energy as your parent? So the first step is just to do some observations of how you feel, and then try to parent yourself. Because what happens often is that there is a conflict, and we raise our voices, or the whole thing escalates, like the snowball effect you just talked about. And then you get to work and you're like, oh my goodness, what happened that morning? So once we understand, I was part of producing all of this in my energy and how can I make a difference is actually to parent ourselves the way we want to parent our children by comforting ourselves and not, because what happens when you get to work and you're all exhausted from having such a morning, then you start beating yourself up from having had such a shitty morning, right?
Right.
That's not parenting. So we wouldn't do that to our children. If they came home and they'd done something wrong, we wouldn't start beating them in their heads and saying, bah, 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 like we talk to ourselves.
Well, and that's where the shame spiral kind of happens, and you go, oh, I really flubbed it up this time. I'm the worst parent in the universe. Ugh, like I don't know what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. And then it spirals down from there. And I mean, that's it. Like, you get the kids off for the school run and you're like, okay, day's starting. It's like 9 a.m. You're like, you still have the whole day to go, like that's, I can see the truth in that of, what if to set yourself up for success, it's in fact doing the work the night before and, doing the inner work more long-term with yourself first. But here's the thing though. And I just have to say this out loud because I can imagine a couple of listeners are thinking this right now. Here's the thing. Here's the real deal. When you are low as a parent and your self-care tank is depleted, I mean, you're below empty, you're running on fumes, it's so hard to like pull yourself out of that and actually go like, well, how can this change? That I'm so low. There's not even an ounce of me more to give right now in this moment. What would you whisper into that person's ear to encourage them?
So the trick is to not go so low.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I want to say, because we can actually keep a much higher vibration, which will affect our whole life, also our relationships and our business relationships and our, in every sense, the higher vibration we keep ourselves in, a lot becomes so much more easy. This is why I can run 4 companies at the same time and still be sane and still have a happy life and just be with my children. It's because I work around my energy. Yeah. So just to say that it's all about keeping your energy higher. And I teach this to parents in many different ways. So one of the ways that I see is the easiest ways for most parents, because what I actually teach and is not so much what is sleep. I actually teach what is self-love, which is such a funny point in all of this, is because I didn't write these books to help parents help the children to sleep. I wrote the books because I wanted to create stronger connection between the child and the parent and let the child understand how important love and self-healing is. So all of what you're asking, that the parent is so low on energy, I want to teach children from they're very young that we should keep a higher vibration. We should keep our energy high. We should love ourselves and all of that many parents aren't doing. So many of the books that I write are books that I wish my clients had. Mm-hmm. And this is the fun part. All children are born as love and light. All children are born as love and light. And because it's not so long ago that they knew that, so they've met society, they've met different things in the environment, they've met different people in their lives that have somehow led them to not any longer believe that they are light and love. And they are already, like you say, spiraling down in the school system and diagnosed and all of what we know is going on. So because they are children, think about it. It's if they're 8 years old or 5 years old or even 13, it's not that long ago that they knew they were love and light. And that means that they are very easy to teach about self-love. So what happens is that the parent picks up this book and she says, I hear it can help him sleep. And I know it's about self-love and I know self-worth and we got to teach them all of that. How can I do that? I hope this book can do it. Then they meditate with the child and the child gets it in a different way than when I teach parents and adults meditation. So the child is sitting there beaming love and the parent can see it and she's like, wow, my child is good at this meditation thing and she can really see her heart and she draws it the next day and she talks about her heart and how beautiful it is. And I'm like, as a parent, I don't know this. I don't have access to my heart. And this is when the child becomes the teacher to the parent. So how do we access that? How do we even get to that point if we're low on energy? Is to tap into the love we have for our child. Because if we're low on energy, there's a big chance that we are low on self-love. That we are definitely not treating ourselves the way we would treat other people that we love. We are not the first one in the row. We're always taking care of everybody else. We're running around the clock. We're working hard to make everything happen. We're not taking care of ourselves. So we don't know so much about self-love. And the child does. So what we need to do in order to help the child connect to his heart is just provide a loving energy that we open up in our love for the child.
Yeah.
So these parents, they all love their children. And that's the gateway.
Mm-hmm.
It all connects in the love that we have for our children, which I think is so beautiful, because then they will lead us to where we should have been, light and love.
So I want to, exclaim to anyone that's listening here that was hoping to get some good sleeping hacks or like 5 tips to da-da-da-da-da. And I think what I'm hearing you say, Gitte, it's not about that. There is no quick fix to sleeping or, things that from your methodology and your experience as well. But actually, this is inner work. This is slowing down your pace. It's truly getting back to center for you, the adult, the parent in the room first, and then being able to create that sense of safety and love in your household, in your home. That's your nest, right?
Yes.
It also makes me think about, obviously Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So the safety and feeling safe is at the very foundation and base of that pyramid. And we'll put the link in the show notes to that visual so anyone that's following on can look at this. And if you don't feel safe and secure in your home, by his theory, is that it's impossible for you to even think about feeling fun or, enlightenment or community or anything else that's higher up in the pyramid. So
Yes.
it sounds like to me, that's very aligned. Like it's all about really building that foundation as the parent in the homestead, in the nest, to help your children get back to the base feeling of safety and love first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I so agree. And you can imagine this. So this is a real case. We have a mother who is a single parent to a 5-year-old boy, and they have a very good relationship, and they have fun, and she loves him, he loves her, and they have a good life together. But he doesn't want to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to, she can't leave the room. He doesn't want to sleep. He's not tired, he says.
Yeah.
So every night she spends 2 or 3 hours running in and out of his room, and throughout those hours, her energy changes. So what we did was look at her energy before, during, and after such a session taking 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
So the energy she was entering the bedtime routine in was, tonight I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm in control. He's not going to steal away my time alone tonight in front of Netflix or whatever she wanted to do. Okay, so because that's another thing. These parents tend to think that the child is stealing their time away, like their adult time, which they are, but it's not really stealing because they never really had that time. So we gave it away, you can say. Okay, so throughout the session of these 2 or 3 hours, this mother just gets more and more exhausted, which is natural. And she also gets more and more tired, and she starts doubting a lot of things, and this is not going to happen, and he's never going to sleep, and I'm just the worst mother ever.
Yeah.
He finally falls asleep way too late, 11 o'clock in the evening. He should have slept at 8 o'clock in the evening. She falls into the couch with something not good to eat, something unhealthy to comfort her emotions, and she has to watch that episode of something on Netflix or whatever, because this is what calms her down.
Yep.
Then she might even have some work to do.
Yeah.
You can see how that bedtime routine of hers is also not going so well that evening. So what we did was just to start with changing the first emotion. So remember, she had this battling feeling going on inside her. I'm going to make him sleep tonight. I'm going to take charge. So she's standing outside. Imagine you're standing outside the door of your child's room with that energy. And I can feel it here in my solar plexus. I'm getting all tight in my core. I'm
like a
manning up. I'm like, whoa.
Like a warrior. Yeah.
Yeah, warrior energy. So what happens when a warrior comes to a child and say, you have to sleep. Like the warrior type is saying, you got to sleep. Now I decide you got to sleep. So what is the chances that a child would fall asleep around such an energy?
Yeah, no, not at all. No. Especially my kids. Let's point that out for the record.
Mine too. They would be wide awake and think, who is that guy? And what is he doing in my room? And he's going to hurt me.
Yeah.
So it's no time for sleep. And our nervous system is going, woo. I got to pay attention to what's going on. I'm not about to fall asleep around this dude.
Yeah.
Whereas you stand outside the door, and then instead of thinking I'm going to be the warrior, you think I'm going to be the best mother I can be. And all I know right now is that I love my child.
Yeah.
And I want to help my child to sleep. And you just tap into that love. You think about the birth. You think about the hug you got that afternoon. You think about the smile. You think about your last vacation. You get yourself over to that beautiful place of mothering or parenting, and you just take that feeling and put it in your body. And then you enter the room and you say, I'm going to help you to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. I'm going to make this bedtime so lovely. So it's so safe for you to fall asleep. Sitting next to the child, all calm, full of love. And what you say is, we radiate energy. Energy is between us. That's what we teach with the book. This is just, the child is just going, oh, this is the mother I love. This is the mother I like. This is the mother who comforts me. It's almost like a grandmothery feeling. Like they're always more calm, right? The grandmothers.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, now I can almost fall asleep on her lap, right?
Yes. And again, just to drive home the point, you can't get to that space at that moment of standing outside the door unless you've taken good care of your energy and yourself and your body and your mind and spirit beforehand. So, and I know from a fact, like I could raise my hand, that whole case study you just explained, I've been there. I've, just like, I'm going to power through this and we're going to make it happen because I got to watch something on show tonight. And like, I think a lot of our listeners have been like that and been that space as well. I mean, parenting's messy. It is a lot. And again, if you are running your own business or getting something off the ground, it is a lot to juggle all of those things. So are you going to get it right every single night? Probably not.
No.
But I think what's helping me lately is truly surrendering and also giving myself grace in this, of not releasing this kind of expectation that I have to do it perfect every single night. But just giving myself that grace to know, you know what, I am being conscious about taking good care of me, and so that I can show up every night imperfectly in love for our kids as well.
Yes. And that is exactly parenting yourself. So when your kid comes home from school and he says, I didn't get it right, you'd say, well, try again. Next time you'll get it right.
Right.
That is parenting. And you just described beautifully what parenting ourselves means. It doesn't mean that we're perfect. I'm not perfect. I've worked with this for a long time. I still make weird decisions when I'm stressed out, or I can get upset. So it's not that you walk around in some Zen position. I'm not even sure I would want that.
Yeah.
So, because I like a little thing going on. It's not about the conflicts. And I have a teenager now, so of course there's going to be conflicts. It's not about that. It's the way we deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't want the conflicts to go away. I want her to know about having a conflict in our household where she's safe. So we can argue, and she can test out different ways of arguing with me. I can say, I actually hear what you're saying. I don't like the tone. And I can't say that if I'm yelling at her. So I don't like your tone. No, I know, but I can't help it because I'm a parent. No, we can help it. We can parent ourselves, and then we can parent our children. It's also, if you come home and the whole kitchen is a mess, they've been baking or cooking or whatever, they have friends home if they're older kids, and you see that mess and you are tired and you bring home the grocery bags and, oh, it's been such a tough day at work. If you parent right then, it's not going to be pretty, right? If you pause, put down the grocery into the fridge, whatever, sit down, meditate, whatever makes you more happy for 10 minutes. And you think about, oh, I love that they have friends. I love that they can cook.
Yeah.
I love that they can know how to make a meal. I love that they are, providing for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't love so much how my kitchen looks now. So now I'm going to ask them to help me clean it.
Yeah.
Or if I don't want to help them And then you come into the room in a completely different attitude, different energy, because you have had the big overview of the situation instead of just going, and you're low on energy. And then you see the dishes, and then it triggers that whole temper inside of us, because we don't want to come home to a dirty kitchen. And we are going to come home to a dirty kitchen. That's not going to end, because they experiment. But how we react to the dirty kitchen is a big game changer.
100%. I mean, I think what I hear you say there in that moment is, again, in this situation where you know you're going to get triggered, a dirty kitchen, or people watching TV for way longer than you want them to, or whatever it is, whatever the trigger is for you.
It's such a trigger, right?
It is. Then I think what I heard you say there is pause, take a breath, and do something that will nourish you first. And my thing is, because, Lord knows my household sometimes there's a lot going on, and it's impossible for me to get away and meditate for 10 minutes in that moment most times. But for me, what works is a nice tall glass of cold water. Just literally say, right, I'm going to drink this whole glass of water, the whole thing. I'm not going to even cheat through that, and take that moment to A, hydrate myself, B, calm my heart rate down, C, it gives me a moment to breathe again. And so then that helps me have that hot second of a moment to go, okay, how am I going to approach this? How am I going to react here? But it also makes me think about, just even in business, right? Somebody says something that triggers you, a coworker does something that really irks your skin. Like, it's in these moments as well. So that help you to not fire off that email that you really shouldn't send, or snap at them, or say something that you can't take back. It's applicable in both places, right?
Yes. And you say it so beautifully. And I love having these conversations, because what you talk about is energy. Mm-hmm. So what I work with a lot also with children now are the 4 elements: fire, water, earth, and air.
Yeah.
And when we have a high temper, it's our inner fire. And if we are a passionate person and we can deliver our messages, it's good to have fire. But if we yell at our children or we get too tempered, then our fire is out of control. And how do you control a fire that is getting out of control? What would you apply?
Well, water.
Water. So when you drink that whole glass of water, you balance your inner fire with the element of water.
Yeah.
So you don't set that email on fire, is what you said, right? So once we get it's so funny to hear, because you can hear the water, the fire. So I use the water to calm the fire.
Yeah.
And I had to ground myself. I had to lay down on the ground and just ground myself. Or we throw balls into the air and we look into the air for better solutions. So we know about this. We know about the elements. We know about love. We know about all of these energies. We have just forgotten. Mm-hmm. We are not conscious. So what you just said was another beautiful example of how you can parent yourself with the elements of nature, water, in this case.
Yeah.
And help your fire. And I love that. It's so simple. A lot of energy work is simple once you become conscious of it.
Yeah. So I know in your TEDx talk, which we'll put the link in the show notes for people if you guys want to see that. And again, you can always access the show notes at thesimplifierspodcast.com. In your TEDx talk, you talked about one technique that you like to do with your kids to help them at night to really kind of ease into things and as part of your nightly routine. And you talked about filling their love mountain. So tell us more about what that means. Can you lead us through that really quickly so that if anyone wanted to try it out tonight, they could do it themselves? Okay.
So when my kids were 3 and 6, they're 10 and 13 now. Mm-hmm. So when they were 3 and 6, I had written another book called Student Life Without Stress to help students deal with the stress they were feeling. Yeah. And they were 20-year-olds. So I was looking at my kids, 3 and 6-year-old, and I was thinking, what can I teach you? So that you don't have to read that book when you get to college one day or university, whatever you want to do. What can I teach you? You're 3 and 6. I have a window of time here to teach you techniques to deal with life. Mm-hmm. And one of the techniques I was using in my own life was, and also had been taught throughout my whole life, to maintain a strong heart connection. And I know that so many things in my life have been easier for me because I've always had connection to my heart. So I was thinking, how do we teach that? What did my mother do to teach that to me? And how do we teach that? So I was in a class, and I was trained to be a life coach and a mindfulness instructor and a healer and a light worker. I was a lot of training at that time. And one night we had a class about heart meditation, and we were taught to go inside our love mountains and find our hearts. And the technique was quite simple, and the experiences in the room were quite magnificent. When one of the women, for instance, found her heart and hadn't seen it for 10 years, which was just mind-blowing for me. Yeah. So I thought that night, how can I teach this love mountain thing to my children? So I just made it into a more childlike meditation, and I told them how to get to a meadow, find their love mountain, go to it, open a door, go inside, find their hearts, and fill themselves up with love and let it flow into the body. And what happens is that we visualize this whole thing. Some of the children will actually see it, and some of them will feel it more, depending on how their sensory system is working. And what also happens is that we start talking about the body. So we say, you get love in your hands, you get love in your tummy. And that makes it easier for them to let go of their mind.
Yeah.
So they start feeling their bodies. And all the children who are lying in bed saying, I'm not tired, they are. It's their mind, their busy minds. So we want to shift focus, which we train with mindfulness. We want to shift attention and focus into the body. So the child will say, oh, my body is rather tired. I think I'll go to sleep. So what I found was that when we connect to our hearts in this way, and the children just loved it, and they kept asking for it every night for half a year, it was just on. What happened was that they fell asleep, often within minutes. So getting back to this mother I was talking about with the 5-year-old son, when she got this, when she understood that she had to enter the room in that loving vibe, she read the book, the first chapter. There are 4 meditations in the book. She read the first one. And it looked like he was sleeping. And she's like, I don't believe it.
Wow.
This has been going on for years. Yeah. I mean, I don't believe he's sleeping. So she tiptoes out of the room. You know, the way only mothers know where this, not to make sounds.
Yes.
And she goes like, gets out of the room, sits on the couch, and just waits for 20 minutes for him to say, ha, 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 I fooled you, I tricked you, or I'm not asleep.
Yeah.
And it's quiet. And she goes back up and doesn't touch all of those spots on the floor again. And she looks into the window and she sees this peaceful little boy sleeping. And she understands that that's his energy has been like that all the time. But she's made this tempered boy come out with her energy. Yeah. So as soon as she shifted her energy, he fell asleep within 10 minutes. That was one night with the book. So you say it's tough to do this when you're low on energy, but it isn't really tough to tap into the love we have for our children, because that's what we all have. So this book is selling in more than 20 countries, and it's the same all over, all cultures. We might not agree on everything across borders, but we all love our children. Yeah. And that is what is so unique, and that is all you need.
Yeah. And so we will put the link in the show notes for you guys so you guys can check out her book. It's called The Children's Meditations in My Heart. And I would highly recommend, if you've been fighting fire with your kids and you're just hitting a brick wall and you're just like, oh my God, I just can't even, I need help. This might be the thing that could help. And Gitte, in your opinion, is this more for kids that are, say, under the age of 10, or could you use some of the tools and meditations in your book to help kids, who are teens or tweens?
Yes, you can. It doesn't have the Children's Meditations in My Heart doesn't have like an age group. You can use it when your child is in your tummy. Yeah. Remember, it's more about your energy. So for a stressed out pregnant mom, it would be really nice to read it to the child in the womb. For the small kids who don't really understand the story, it's all about our energy, all about getting us into that love mountain as well. And then for the teenagers, it's more about persuade. If you haven't had that close relationship to your child and now you want to teach them self-love, it's all about persuading them to read such a book. Yeah. It will work once they allow you to read it. So as I said, all children are born as love and light. The longer we wait, the harder it gets for them to get back to that understanding if they are off trail, like it is for us adults that we have lost contact to our hearts, and then it's hard to regain access. So the younger they are, the better they will understand. And reading the book with a 3-year-old and talking to him or her about it afterwards is quite unique and quite profound, because they can tell you something about love and life and the universe and what love really is that you might have forgotten.
And their hearts are so wide open at that point. They are. And that when you do slow down, you get down on their same level, like literally not being standing up tall above them. I'm the disciplinarian and you're the kid, right? You have to listen to me. But actually getting down on their level, snuggling up with them. I think that that is where the magic is, because like you said earlier, that's where the child becomes the teacher. That's where your heart starts to soften as well from any brick walls that have been formed over the years. And that's where true healing happens. I know that when I was looking through your book, I really appreciated a couple of extra tips to throw out and for you guys to ponder that you're listening here at home, is truly setting better boundaries between the bedtime routine and, work. So if you're feeling like, oh, I just need to fire off one more email, and you're giving that energy of like, oh, one more email, one more message, I'm on my phone over here. Kids are watching and they're picking up on that energy, and they're not feeling that is truly sacred time together, right?
Yeah.
So that, I love that. I love that concept of really just even test it for a day. Test it for tonight and try to make tonight's bedtime routine truly sacred time, one-to-one with your kids, and not try to do the laundry at the same time and send off an email and check on Facebook and do all this and do all that. Like just be there. It can be really powerful, right?
Yes. And if you don't have the book yet, a simple trick is your child is laying in bed, and then you place your ear on the heart, like on the chest of your child, and you just listen to that little heartbeat. Yeah. And if that doesn't trigger something in you, then you really need a vacation or something, because that little heartbeat always gets to me. It's like, okay, this is what my life is all about.
Yeah.
This is a little, the children's heart is beating a little faster. You're like, oh my God, it's working so hard. Mm-hmm. How unique it is to even have this child and have this heart. And you start appreciating so many things. So even at the most stressful times, just place that ear on the chest of your child, and you will realize why you're here and what is truly important to you.
Yes, and that's where the perspective shift happens. That's where you pause the hot mess express spiraling and anxiety and stress and go, hang on, let's zoom out a little bit.
Yes.
So if you're curious to learn more about Gitte and her book and her work and her TEDx video and all that good stuff, you can also check her out online at roomforreflection.com. And again, these links will be in the show notes. And you can also sign up for her free newsletter where you can get a sneak peek into the Children's Meditations in My Heart book, and also get access to a free mini course on children and sleep. So that link is roomforreflection.com/free-stuff. But again, those links are down in the show notes for you guys, so you can check that out. So Gitte, I have a few questions for you that I like to ask everybody that's on the podcast. And again, thank you. I mean, I appreciate you coming and sharing this with us, because I think we forget. We forget, don't we?
Yes. And don't beat yourself up for forgetting either.
Yeah, we forget, and then we fall back into the same traps over and over again. So tell us, what's one book or blog that you're reading these days that you really feel is either inspiring you or maybe poking holes and challenging your belief system these days?
Well, there is one book that I've read maybe 10 times, and I keep reading it, and I just read it again. It's Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic.
Yeah.
I can't get over that book. And every time I read it, I hear a different story. And I often use it when I teach workshops, and I get in discussions with my attendees for like my clients with what they got out of the book. And it's always different. So Big Magic for me is understanding what energy is and how we can create our own lives and create the products that we want to bring to market as entrepreneurs. So the whole idea about what is an idea and how does it get into a product and who gets to have the idea. And it's just, I just love that book.
Excellent recommendation. I'll put a link in the show notes for people who haven't read that book. I also got to see her speak in London a little while back, and I did a nice little bonus episode recap on that one. So I'll put a link in the show notes for that as well.
I would love to hear it. She's on my bucket list to go see.
Incredible.
I'm trying to get her to come to Denmark.
So I believe that gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand. Tell me, what's one thing that you're grateful for in your life right now?
Oh, I can't even begin to say just one thing, but I am grateful for being a mother to my two beautiful girls and having a family and being able to run a business from home and even going global at the same time is just amazing.
Yeah. So tell us, who's one person in your network that you just feel is up to brilliant things right now? And if we could shine a spotlight on him or her, we'd love to do that. And also, who knows, maybe one day they'll be on the Simplifiers podcast as well. Who would you choose?
Well, it's not a hard one to pick for me. I've had a mentor the past 2 years, a business mentor, and Dr. Andrea Pennington. She is from the States, but she lives in Cannes in France, and she has helped me in so many ways. So when I produced my books, I was taught how to brand products, and she has helped me to understand the importance of personal branding. And she's opened so many doors for me and helped me get on so many shows and podcasts and even on the TEDx stage.
Amazing.
So I have no idea where I would have been without her. And I'm strongly encouraging all to get a mentor. A business mentor is so important. And if you would like my recommendation, you should check out Dr. Pennington.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes for Dr. Pennington as well. My kind of person, 100% agree. So again, reminder, you guys can find Gitte online at roomforreflection.com. That is where she is. And then also on Facebook, Room for Reflection INT is her handle. And on Instagram, Kids Meditate, if you want to get connected to her. So Gitte, one last final question for you. And again, thank you so much for your time and for helping us through this. Somebody somewhere right now is listening to this episode and she is in the darkest of places. Her love tank is not depleted. It is like completely flat out empty, done. Her car is on the side of the road with 3 flat tires. And she's got a kid who needs to go to sleep because he needs it and she needs it. Everyone needs it. She's at her wit's end. If there is one thing you could whisper into her ear right now just to encourage her, what would that be?
Okay, I would ask her to lay down in the bed with the child and hold the child so the child can be close to her, and then just feel into the love for the child. Just use the love you have for your child to get into that zone where the child can find the comfort. And we all love our children. So I just know that this will work for even the tirest of mothers.
This too shall pass.
Yes.
Gitte, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me and making an emphasis on this. This is important. We got to help our children to sleep.